samba with Untitled.
Wrapping around the hymn, and ooh.
I come from Lima, Peru, so my, I guess, specialty is the music of the coast of Peru, which we call Afro-Peruvian music and Creole music. So there's many connections with the music of West Africa, and one of the connections is the way in which we learn. And that's a foundation, I guess, for the use of call and response in many cultures, the way we learn music, by just listening to it, imitating it, unlocking the knowledge that we already have. Now, every time we say low, we're going to tap. Every time we say high, we're going to clap. All right? So let me do it first. You guys go after. Call and respond, right? It makes you, when you're learning, it's such a safe place to start, because you're going to hear your teacher do it first, and then you're going to go after with a group. 1, 2, 3. Low, high, low, low. You go.
Low, high, low, low.
Beautiful. In all styles of music, of course in African music too, but in all forms of music, a phrase has already in it that component of the call and the response. For example, in this rhythm, the part that we just sing together is the call of the rhythm itself. Can you guys now do it first?
Low, high, low, low. Low, high, low, low. Low, high, low, low.
All right. Can we try just playing the whole rhythm? 1, 2, 3. Low, high, low, low. High, low. You go.
Low, high, low, low.
High, low. Again.
Low, high, low, low.
Again.
Low, high, low, low.
One more time.
Low, high, low, low.
So we have the call and response element in the rhythm itself. Now we're going to learn the melody, what the singers will do. You guys do the response, I'll do the call. All right? So much more interesting than me just singing the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to sing Samba Malato Lando. Right. So Samba Malato
Lando,
Samba Malato
Lando,
Samba Malato
Lando,
Samba Malato
Lando.
All right? Beautiful. Like music is a language. It's all about, it's just a way of communicating, but communicating maybe other things that we cannot communicate with our regular language, even more powerful, yes? Maybe feeling like we're playing and now we're feeling something. That's also something that we need to communicate to each other. Like, oh, I see that you guys feel kind of the same thing that I feel when I do this. And that's, I think, a validation of our humanity.
Like something boneless, we glide silent, seep between floorboards, wrapping around the hymns, and ooh-wee clinging like glue hips. Engines grinding, rotating, smoking, gotta pull back some. Natural minds are lost at the mere sight of ringing true hips. Gotta love us girls, just strutting down Manhattan streets, killing the menfolk with a dose of that stinging view, hips. Crying about getting old. Patricia, you need to get up off what God gave you. Say a prayer and start slinging. Cue hips. No snaps? So Patricia Smith is writing today. She's a contemporary American poet, but she's actually drawing on a poetic form that originates in 7th century Arabia. The ghazal is a beautiful poetic form that really embodies the call and response technique. Do you notice any call and response here?
The first line, gotta love us brown, girls, on fat, swinging blue hips, decked out in shells and splashes. Lottie, bring them blue hips, bring them blue hips to be a response.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you notice, each couplet actually ends with this refrain. refrain, hips, with a rhyme preceding it. Singing through hips, right? In the third couplet, clinging like glue hips. So ringing true hips. So you have the rhyme, the ringing true, bringing woo, and then the refrain, the hips, hips, hips. Each couplet can stand on its own, but within the couplet, there's also some tension, there's some contrast going on. So kind of, I mean, you pointed out like a thematic call and response, but you can note that there's some that tension within a couplet can be sort of a call and response. This is obviously an English example, but like in the Urdu tradition from Pakistan, they have mushairas, which are public poetry gatherings. In public performances of ghazals, the audience participates. So the poet will say, "Gotta love us brown girls, munching on fat, swinging blue hips, decked out in shells and splashes, Lottie, bring them woo hips." They might even repeat that couplet a couple of times. So by establishing the refrain at the beginning, the whole audience is like, okay, I know what's coming up. And then they'll go on to the second couplet. As the jukebox teases, watch my sister's throat, the heartbreak, inhaling bass line, crapping backbone, and singing through hips. And everyone responds. So it's cooler, obviously, if there's a longer phrase, because then you get to participate a little more. So on this page, I have 2 examples of English ghazals. You're going to do your own call and response to a call and response poem. You're going to elaborate.
What is it?
So 2 pronouns and a vehicle.
Was Icarus with wings.
So the rhyme scheme in the bottom one is rain, even the rain.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Our glosses wanting in this world, can you remember? Anyone, when we thought, the poets taught, even the rain? After we died, that was it. God left us in the dark. And as we forgot the dark, we forgot even the rain. The rain that took our memory away in the dark and washed the moments we loved, even the rain.
That's great. So you have a poetic form that you have to stick to, but you can do all sorts of things within it. So thinking about a refrain as limiting is actually quite the opposite in this case.
Elise,
Elise,
This is one of the 2 genres that we practice, right? And they're traditions from the Afro-Puerto Rican expressions or legacies that we've inherited. This is a rhythm or a genre called bomba. The idea is, and I think that when we're talking about call and response, it's really poignant to understand that this is a tradition that we've inherited from, obviously, the enslavement, right? The enslavery of people, where you were deprived from not only, your belongings, your family, your country, but also a sense of humanity and being able to articulate who it is that you are as an individual. So if you take away, for a lot of people, the power and the freedom to speak, you start to explore what other channels you can use to kind of find that sense of self, that grounding, that sense of liberation, and reconnecting to who it is that you are. And in Puerto Rico, that was most specifically manifested in bomba. Now, within these 2 drums, right, in bomba, there's 2 main different drums, right? These are both called barriles, but they play different roles. The first drum is a bulleador drum, and it's the lower tune drum, the lower bass drum, that calls out the foundation, the style, the rhythm, the tempo. Now this drum is called the primo or the subidor, and it is the drum that engages in a conversation with the dancer. In bomba, in the dance, in the dance, there's a species of communication, and usually a lot of people say that the drummer is responding to the dancer, and it's all improvised, not choreographed, improvised, right? But in essence of true conversation, call and response, there's a moment where it's not an A and B direction. It's a dialogue, right? So if I'm going like this, and he just responds going flip, 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 right? If I'm going like this, pero si tú me respondes con whatever, que no tiene nada que ver. Sí, sí. Doesn't match, right? It's like, well, what's going on, right? So that's when the conversation becomes really interesting, because as a dancer, then you have to force yourself to reconnect again with the song, with the space, and make sure that he or she, whomever's playing this drum, can follow you back and forth, right? So it's a give and take of energy, it's a give and take of conversation and dialogue. In terms of, again, the practice of doing bomba, right, ancestrally, this was the platform that our ancestors had to, again, tap into something that they no longer have physical connections to, right, to regain that sense of humanity, but also very pragmatically back in those days to plan things out, right, slave rebellions, just different types of activities, right, to gain their liberation, all by using movement and sound. So this is when we start to kind of teach how the structure of the dance is a form of conversation, is a form of dialogue. Stand up. So I'll do the whole thing. About codes, we're talking about history, we're talking about cultural practices. So we're asking kids to connect to something that's really far removed from their reality, putting them outside of their comfort zone and then asking them to improvise on top of that? Like what, right? Lots of kids come into the classroom saying, oh, bachata movement or hip hop movement, and that's fine. That is allowed in bomba because you're expressing yourself. And if you always do it with the idea that is going to be connected with these drums.
Felicitar, ¿dónde estará?